is ready. I believe it is. I think.
Yeah, all is good. All is good.
Great, great. Thank you. Welcome everyone to another discussion of the Atheists Hangout. Today, our topic is how did Islam become popular? How did Islam become popular? So this is a very similar topic to another one that we uploaded called How Did Christianity Become Popular? In fact, at the time, we were supposed to combine the two topics, Christianity and Islam, but the attendees, we had invited Christian apologists to join the debate. They were not comfortable talking about Islam because they hadn't read up on it or they were not as experienced with Islam as Christianity. So we decided to restrict ourselves to Christianity. But because we know Islam is a popular religion, I know at least one of us here, most of us here have friends or relatives who are Muslims. So it applies to you. And it would be great to understand its history as well as its influence today. So, as is the norm, we always begin with definitions. We always begin with definitions of the key terms. The key terms in that title, how did Islam become popular? So the key terms are Islam and popularity. Please, could somebody define Islam? What do you understand by the religion of Islam? If at all you perceive it to be a religion, you could perceive it to be a culture or whatever. So what is your understanding of the word Islam? And how do you assess the popularity of a religion? How do you know that something has become popular? And then I can also throw in a third question there. Do you know some practitioners of Islam? Do you know some Muslims in your life? Yeah. So let's answer those three questions as we warm up the floor, the microphone with this discussion. Please feel free to raise your hands. You can answer any of those questions that I have tabled. Great. I see ex-Pastor Stano's hand is up. I see Morioki's hand is up. Let's start with you, Stano.
So I think the religion become popular when we have evidence that is spreading and many people have started to follow it. For now, we can see the Islamic is all over. Muslim are all over across the world. So, and that we can just understand that it's very popular, just the way like Christianity is popular because it's also all over the world. But we cannot say Jews is popular because it's only limited to a few people. The other religion. So the religion that we can term as popular is when we can see it spread, have already spread across the world. But if it's limited in a certain area, we cannot term that religion as popular. So for me, that is how I can define popularity of Islam. About the growing of, it's not about the growing. Yeah, I know the people who are Muslim, and I also listen to their argument. In fact, even when I was still a pastor, sometimes I could argue with some imam until and during the night I could be able to argue with some because they try to fight in Bible very well, and that is how they became popular because they can be able to rebuttal the Bible, but the other they are not allowed to rebuttal Quran. In fact, when you are trying to challenge the Quran, you are being threatened, or there is something that they try to hide you or to try to to stop you by saying you don't know Quran because Quran is written in Arabic. You are reading Quran in English. So you are misunderstanding the Quran. So they try to stop the people by saying that. That is why you find it's very hard to challenge the Quran or to challenge the Islamic, but it's very easy to challenge Christianity. So that is why the Islam are concentrating on fighting Christianity foreign books so that they may become popular and they may be able to convince many people. Thank you.
Aha, very many important points there, which we will dissect going forward, including the inability to criticize Islam. People are forbidden from criticizing Islam, but they themselves criticize other religions, including Christianity. In fact, that was one of the major reasons why Islam came to be. It is a monotheistic religion. It used to claim that Christians are polytheistic because they believe in the Trinity. How can you be three things and one thing at the same time? Yeah, thank you so much, ex-Pastor Stano. Next is Morioki, and then we'll have Juliana.
Okay, thanks, Dorcas. I think what I'll say, Muhammad appears to be a real person. Despite the stories about him, there's a date when he was born. I think 570 AD, if I'm not wrong, and he died in 632 AD. So he appears to be more real than the prophets because there's a birth date and a death date. Yeah, and then also they have a code of conduct that's very strict. Like when you go to the mosque, you dress a certain way. In a mosque, you're all equal. So that can make something popular. They have a strict code of conduct. Then also they are wealthy. This because of oil, like in Arabia, this wealth they have, this thing of oil, they are rich so they can spread because they're also quite wealthy. Yeah, thanks.
Aha. So Morioki has even proceeded to talk about other things, to the meat of the discussion. We will get into that shortly, but he has brought out aspects around wealth and around their dress code. I mean, their code of conduct. Code of conduct. I will get into that. I'll ask members questions on that shortly, but I've noted it. Thank you, Morioki. Next in the line is Juliana. Before Juliana speaks, I'd like to remind people what questions we are answering. We've just started, actually, for those who are joining us. We've just started. We are defining Islam. What is Islam? In fact, if you know some tenets, some principles which Muslims abide by, you can mention them. For those of us who are not as informed, you can mention them. So what is Islam? And then how do we gauge a popular religion? How do we determine that a religion is popular? And then the third question was personal. I asked members, do they know some Muslims in their lives? Is this true for them? Is Islam becoming popular for them in their lives from what they are seeing around them? Here in Kenya or in whichever part of the world in which they are situated. So those are the three questions that are opening up the discussion. I'm holding brief for Musembi because he's on the move. I'm hoping that he'll be able to join us. When he does, we will hand over to him to moderate. Juliana, please go ahead.
Hey, thank you very much, Dorcas, and thank you, everyone. Three questions to answer. First one is, what is Islam? I am going to confess that I don't know much about Islam except the fact that it was founded by a guy called Prophet Muhammad. And based on what I've read about it and what I've read in the Old Testament, it looks like it's quite similar. And so they may have borrowed from each other some of those chapters and transported. This is what I believe, so I can't say I'm an expert on Islam. Now, the next question is, how do we gauge a popular religion? And this one I can totally answer. So what's been happening, especially even in my city, Endeavor might talk about Ontario, but in my city in Edmonton is we are seeing an increased number of mosques being built, big ones. In fact, there's one just close to me. As we are seeing mosques being built, we are seeing the old traditional churches either going bankrupt or being sold or being closed or being torn down because there are not enough people going to them. And we're also starting to see requests from the Muslim community to have their own separate school board. So if you can think of, I think it's probably similar in Kenya, where you have the Catholic school board, they have their own schools, and then you have the public. So we have something similar here. We used to have, we have the separate, which was Catholic based, and then public. So all of a sudden right now, there are calls for having a separate board just for Muslim. So currently right now, if you wanted to have your children go to Muslim school or Muslim type school, you'd have to make it a private school and you pay for it out of your own pocket. But now they're lobbying the governments, the provincial, municipal governments, that we need the taxpayer to be able to also fund separate school boards for Islam kids. So this is where you see that the religion, at least they have enough population to sort of might be able to influence, and which I absolutely do not like. I don't even like the fact that we have the separate school board for Catholics. It is unfair because we have to treat everyone equally. What I've also seen and I've experienced is Muslims or Islam groups starting up businesses that are hidden under charitable status. In fact, I bought a vehicle from I think he was Muslim. So what they do is they buy like big ranches, thousands of acres, because you can buy that if you have money. Then they bring their Muslim people, they stay there, they farm the land, and because it's a tax-free status, they do not pay tax on that, which again is quite disturbing for me. So when I see these things happening, especially here, that really tells me how popular and how powerful those forces are becoming, and they must be stopped. As to the personal, yes, my first boyfriend actually, when I was probably in the 70s. Oh my goodness, I'm so old. So my first boyfriend was actually Muslim. His name was Ramadan. That was his Muslim name, but his actual name was Ndirang. He was a Kikuyu guy. They had a shop next to ours. Great guy. So that was my first introduction to personal Muslim. Now, I don't think those were true Muslims because I know they drank and they smoked, but they were very kind and we got invited to their Eid parties, etc. And of course, coming here to Canada, especially my current position, we have so many Muslims, Islams. So that's my introduction to Muslim Islam as people. As to whether they think it's popular, yeah, I think they do because there's so many of them. In fact, when I worked for the city of Regina, we had a special room for them to pray. They have to pray 5 times. So we set aside a special room that can come to work and go to pray. We didn't do that for the Christians, but we did that for the Muslims. So yes, it's becoming quite alarmingly popular, and that is concerning me. So I'm really interested to see what I can learn from this topic today. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, Juliana, thank you so much for bringing so many angles to this discussion, including religious privilege. The Muslims who are coming to a predominantly maybe secular part of the world like Canada or Christian part of the world, and they're there demanding special treatment from the government and from the exchequer through taxation and through exemption from taxation and through funding for their particular requirements or policies. That is quite disturbing, to be honest. Okay, next is Ndeve. Karibu Ndeve.
Asante. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm using a loaner computer, so I had to be sure that, okay. Hi, everybody. Now let's go to this Arabic, Islamic, it's Arabic, Islam from my point of view. First of all, the popularity, one of the things that make Islam popular is that it is a man thing. Anything that caters to the man.
Ndeve, Hold on,
Eh?
Ndebe. I am
Yeah.
requesting that we first define Islam.
Eh?
How also we talk about how we gauge that something is popular. And you also mention if you have a friend or if you know someone who is a Muslim, we will get to its popularity as the next question.
Yeah, but that is why it is popular, because it was formed around men to cater to men and to put women down. That is going to be popular. That is going to be popular. That is going to make it popular. The other thing is that it was brought into the Arabic tradition. And because it agreed with our Arabic tradition, it became popular. It was taken up because it said it didn't come and say about another tradition. It came and said these are the traditions of the Arabs. We will follow them like this and like the other. So that also made it popular. For now, I will leave birth rate. That is about the numbers. It will come later, the birth rate. Maybe the other thing is that the egoism of the area, whoever has not heard about the ego in the Middle East, that ego is going to help something to be popular, because they are going to take it everywhere. I am in a classroom and you can just hear, even if it is not about religion, you can just hear the ego in the group. Yeah, so while the Canadians are just sitting there and they're wondering what the heck is this. But anyway, the other one that probably can make it popular is that one of people working together and excluding other people, so that you just have your own group. And when you have the number, the mass, like a reasonable number of people, then you can agitate and go ahead and win over the other population. And if you can't win them over by telling them, then there's always the Quranic way of winning over people. It is right there. It's written. If you can't win them over, just kill them. And then you are only left with people who are for it. Then that is going to be popular. Other people are going to be afraid. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ndebe. You've also brought out some important points. But as I was saying, they will come in the next question. For now, we are defining Islam. For now, we are defining Islam. Question number one. Number two, how do you gauge that a religion is popular? What standards do you use to assess that a religion is popular? Not necessarily Islam, any other religion. How do you determine that it is popular? And then three, do you know anyone who is a Muslim? Have you seen for yourself this popularity firsthand? Ndebe, you wanted to respond to those? Okay.
Yes, okay. So I'm now just going to add my my interaction with Islam. I worked in Mombasa for a while, and for me, maybe my interaction was not very good, because I thought that you kind of are being forced to follow a certain, and I'm sure Christianity used to do the same thing. If you have got the numbers, that time in Mombasa, of course, even now, maybe they have the numbers, you probably are going to be forced to listen to the muezzin very early in the morning, something that I can't stand. And because they have the numbers. So that one was part of my my interaction. My other interaction is early in life, in my life. My uncle, one of my uncles, was a Muslim. Ever since I met that person, he was a Muslim until the day he died. Unfortunately, he did not treat his family because they were not Muslim, his wife and children were not. He kind of treated them funny, so something that because I was a kid, I could not understand it, and I couldn't ask my mother, so I couldn't understand how he treated them. He lived in our little market, and where he worked all his life, and they lived in, and he never went back home. The wife had to come and visit him during complicated. Okay. Thank you. So that was my exposure to Islam, early exposure, and it was weird. Thank you.
All right. Kweli mmepitia. Thank you. I think anybody who's lived in the coast will testify to such experiences. And we'll explore some of the points that Ndeve has brought out, including Arabic tradition and its sense of community. I think we will explore that when we get to the second question, the second main question of the discussion. We haven't gotten there yet. We are still at the definition stage. So Dixon is next, and then we'll have Ochola Mwana Falsafa after him.
Yes, I have not had anyone define Islamic in a very direct way. I think that is what I'll do, or at least try and answer the questions in a direct way. Islam, by definition, I think it's the followers of Prophet. Islam are the followers of Prophet Muhammad. Islamic was founded by Prophet Muhammad. I think it was in around 7th century. I don't know, is century, something of the sort. I can't remember very well, in Arab or in the Arab world. I think that
570. 570 AD.
Yes, thank you. And they use the Quran as the central book, and I think they also teach about the one God being the one who exists. Their popularity, I think, how you can tell the popularity of a religion, I think it is by the number of the followers, by the number of people who follow the same religion. That question, I have not interacted with the Muslims. I don't have any Muslim acquaintances. I just knew one guy I used to study with in campus who used to wear those kanzus really to go and interact with the Muslims during easy occasions, the occasions for food. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dixon, for answering that first question directly. Ochola Mwana Falsafa, go ahead.
Hello. So on my side, Islam is just a simple. It is a simple monotheistic Abrahamic religion that was begun by a certain. Of course, I regard Muhammad as being a genius. So when you look at Islam, it focuses, it emphasizes the idea of monotheism, the idea of one God, and there's a claim that the word Islam itself means submission to God's will. So the fact that it pointed to one God, it was simple, and that is one of the major reasons that made it really to rise that fast. So there's another reason, which is war. Again, war also made the conquest. There's why Muhammad was a good tactician when it comes to battles and conquering states and all that. So that also made the religion to spread fast. And there was the simplicity, the idea of simplicity. In terms of the doctrines, Islam is not complicated like in Christianity, whereby you have the idea of Trinity and all that. It is just about submission to God and to Allah alone. And then there's that tradition of the Arabic people being simple people, so they could easily be deceived. These were not very learned people in terms of the literacy level. by that time, the Arab world was not that learned, especially among the common people, not the tradesmen and women. How is Islam a popular religion in terms of the number? It is the second most. It is the second most popular religion after Christianity. This is just by the number, and again, we can judge by the influence of the religion. When you look at the history, all of them trace their origin to Abraham, and there's a way it has influenced the culture and all that. So the Islamic people I've interacted with, I have had classmates, and I must confess that Islam is really one of those religions that really moved me closer to religiosity. As in, I desired these people. There was that sincerity in them, and they're always, apart from the imams and all that, the common people who submit to Allah, as they say. I can say that their indoctrination is very deep, to an extent whereby they practice what they believe. For those people who are adherents to that religion, like the classmates I had, they used to be good people, meek. I've also had an employer who was a Muslim. Again, he was a good person, paying you your wages at the right time, as long as you are doing the right thing. And then what made Islam to be authentic, to seem authentic? The idea of one God, as I mentioned, and then it was simple.
Okay.
And then sincerity.
Ochola,
Okay, thank you.
we are still not answering that second question. We are still on definitions, but you have jump-started the discussion nonetheless. Thank you so much for telling us more about Islam. Dixon, please remember to lower your hand if it is not your intention to continue contributing. Please remember to lower. Okay. Yeah. Now, next question, which you guys were just dying to answer, is how did Islam become popular? That's the next question. So you guys have been answering that question instead of the 3 questions that I had asked previously. How did Islam become popular? Now, because we can go all over the place and maybe touch points on a surface level, I'd like us to be a bit more organized. Maybe let's begin with the political aspect. Politically, how did that contribute to Islam's popularity? And here we can think of conquest, the early origins of Islam, and even today, even as we continue, how does politics play a role in making Islam popular? And also, we can consider the aspect of jihad or violent campaigns against non-believers. What role does jihad play in making Islam popular? So we can talk about that aspect first, the political conquest and jihad, the aspect about jihad first before we get into other components, because we'd like to be a bit more orderly. We can talk about so many things and we'd end up not delving into them deeply. So think about that. As you think about it, let me also answer those questions. What is Islam? The dictionary says that Islam is a major world religion that emphasizes monotheism. So what Ochola was saying is spot on. The unity of God. So Muhammad was responding to the Christians and the Trinity God, and to also other polytheistic people around Medina and Saudi Arabia, where he was located. He was incensed, he was mad at all of these polytheistic people worshiping many, many gods. He felt that people needed to go back to one God. So it emphasizes the unity of God. And it also states that Muhammad is his last prophet. There were many prophets. In fact, Muslims acknowledge all the other prophets in Judaism and Christianity. Ezekiel, Isaiah, Moses, Elijah. It even calls Jesus a Muslim. I mean, a prophet. Yeah, a prophet. Oh, yeah, and even that slip of the tongue, a Muslim. They also believe that all those prophets were secretly Muslims. They were secretly Muslims. It co-opts a lot of the stories that are believed by Jews and by Christians as well, but it kind of revises them to a certain extent. Word has it that Muhammad probably was being told these stories. He was learning from the people around him those stories, and then he co-opted them. And in fact, the faith started when Muhammad got a revelation. He says it's the final revelation from Allah, God, and God sent Angel Gabriel. So when Angel Gabriel came, Muhammad sort of had a convulsion, and he started foaming in his mouth. He started making camel noises. And then from there, he got this revelation, and he decided to spread it around the world. So Islam has, oh yes, and on top of it having Muhammad as the prophet, it also has the Quran as a sacred text. So in summary, to define Islam, you have to mention monotheism or the unity of God. You have to mention Prophet Muhammad as his final prophet. You have to mention the sacred text, the Quran. And the Quran is actually a writing containing the revelations that Muhammad got from God through that angel Gabriel. Yeah. Then we also have hadiths. Quran is a revelation from God. Hadiths are the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. And then we have the Sunnah, which is the deeds of Prophet Muhammad. So all of those are separate texts to find some of the ideas practiced by Muslims. Then they have 5 pillars, including having a holy month of fasting called Ramadan, doing the Hajj, which is a visit to the holy site of Mecca in Saudi Arabia, at least once in a Muslim's lifetime. They have the 5 prayers in a day. They have giving of alms or zakat. You are obligated to help the poor. So those, oh yeah, and the 5th pillar of Islam is to profess Allah, as God. You must say that Allah is the only God there is. Now, that is the definition I have on how you gauge popularity. It's simple. It's through the numbers. It's through the percentages. You look at the total number of adherents of the faith. Currently, Christianity rules. Christians dominate the religious realm. They are the largest number. The second largest number is Islam. It is postulated that if they continue growing at this rate, then by the year 2050, Islam will be the most popular religion. My third question was, do you know any personal Muslims? Yes. My niece, who I consider to be like a daughter, because I lived with her for several years. So my niece has a mother who is Muslim. Her biological mother is a Muslim, and their entire family is Muslim. So when I used to stay with my niece, when I was raising her, there was always a conflict for her. Because when she would stay with me, I was Christian, I would take her to church and tell her that Jehovah God is the only God. And then when she would go to her mother and their family, she would find that they are practicing Islam, and they would tell her the Muslim God is the right one. So she used to behave like a Muslim when she goes there. And then when she would come back, she would hide and lie that she was behaving that way. And she would pretend to act like a Christian when she was here. until I found out I had some spies who told me how she behaves when she's there. She even wears the hijab when she's there, my niece. So I've interacted with Muslims. And as we said in the other discussion of Islamophobia, there's no problem with Muslim people. Muslim people are fantastic people. I have no problem with all the Muslims I've interacted with. They are very sincere, very dependable individuals. My problem is the ideology. My problem is Islam itself. It isn't all sunshine and roses. It is quite an oppressive religion. So that is my take on those three questions. So, guys, I asked you the next one. How did Islam become popular? And here, let's start with the political aspect. Ochola had tried to mention a bit of that. If anybody is familiar, can they please mention it? Also, jihad. Let's talk about that. Also, let's comment about jihad in general, even if it's not in terms of popularity, of its effect on the popularity. What do we think about jihad? Have you ever talked to a Muslim about it? And what did they say? How did they respond? Did they say that that's not Islamic? Islam is a religion of peace? Well, how did they respond to this idea of being accused of being violent? Great, I see Morioki's hand is up. Go ahead, Morioki.
Okay, thanks, Dorcas. I spoke to a Muslim man after 9/11, September 11, about the aeroplanes. Then he said it is a good thing that it should be happening more frequently. But when I told him he's the innocent who suffer, he went silent. I told him that when those planes were going into the buildings, they killed innocent people. There he went silent. He went into deep thought. So thanks.
Aha, he had nothing to say. Crickets. Crickets. Yeah, he had been pushed to a wall. Great. You cannot say that your religion is a religion of peace if it has caused people to destroy others' lives. I see Lucheveleli is here with us. Great. Welcome, Eugene, to the discussion. And if you even don't mind, you can answer even the other questions that I had asked.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. I was actually trying to settle down. I've been on a journey most of the day, but at least my journey has ended, and I was fortunate enough to join the meeting as well. So, if I can start from the first questions you had asked, what is Islam? I think I agree with all the definitions I've had. So I don't think I have anything new to say. It's just the same old, what it is, who founded it, when exactly, and the main points it tries to address, whether it's monotheism and the 5 pillars of Islam and all that, which I'm still in agreement with all the speakers, all that they've said. When it comes to, for example, how it became popular, how it became popular. Yes, I am inclined to believe that yes, violence was one of the ways, but it's not really the only way, the only political way, that is. I think most Muslims back then, they were very, very much good at trade. Yeah. So empires used to trade. I remember when I was reading through history sometimes back. Yeah. We had the Abbasid Caliphate, which was in the Middle East, and we had, the Holy Roman Empire, which was right in the middle of Europe. Apparently, those two empires used to trade, and they were separated by miles and miles of water, thousands and thousands of kilometers, but they used to trade. So, and part of the trade, they had slaves, and apart from selling slaves and all that, they also sold religion to one another. We had Christianity coming into Middle East, and we had Islam going into Europe as well. And when it comes to the issue of jihad, based on my Muslim friends and how they've responded to the question, what exactly jihad is, I came to realize that most of us when we hear the word jihad, we all of us are inclined to believe that it's the Allahu Akbar thing, and then someone blows himself up or someone beheads you. Yeah, yes, which is a stereotype and all, but when it comes to the root word of the word jihad, it's from the Arabic term which means a struggle. So when you say a struggle, it depends on who interprets it and how they understand it. When you ask an Islamic extremist what is jihad, now they will be in agreement with what most believe what jihad is. But if you go to the spiritual Muslims and then you ask them what jihad is, to them they will tell you that it's a sort of spiritual struggle in which it encompasses your morals, your social welfare, and even physical efforts, all aimed at self-improvement. Basically, like meditation when it comes to the Middle Eastern religions. But it's all about self-fulfillment and all that, promoting justice, resisting oppression. But again, now when you say resisting oppression, again, it's still subject to very diverse interpretation, because again, if you're dealing with an extremist, resisting oppression, you can resist oppression through many ways, including spread of terror. I'm not saying that Islam equals to terrorism, but just as any other ideology, we have extremists and all that. But I'm not measuring on the extremist bit. I'm talking on the root word of jihad, which means the struggle. Yeah. And they will also go ahead and maybe tell you the various types of jihad there is, which the first one that I've said, it's a self-struggle of the soul, of the soul or the spirit, for those who believe in spirit, because yes, these people actually believe in souls and spirits. So they will, most of the time, they'll tell you it's an internal struggle of the self. Then there's another struggle against the devil or Satan. It's called jihad al-shaitan. Yeah, it's struggle against the devil. As in, it all depends on the context, on the content. Sorry, on the context. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so that's all I can say about jihad. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Eugene, for taking time out of your busy schedule. As you said, you are settling in after a long journey, but we really appreciate the time that you have taken. Now, I don't see any other hands that are raised, so we will move to the next point, to the next question, to the next subtopic. Oh, I see ex-Pastor Stano's hand is up. Okay, I was going to make my contribution on political influence, the role of political influence and political conquest or violent conquest. I was going to make my input, but since ex-Pastor Stano's hand is up, I'll let him speak, and then we can proceed to the next subtopic, which is still under how Islam became popular. Yes, Stano.
So mine is just to respond to Eugene about the jihad. According to the Quran have so many verses that say, fight those who don't believe in you. If they don't convert to Islamic, and if they don't give the contribute or that they don't pay the taxes, you force them either to pay taxes or you fight them. If they don't convert to Islam, there is those kind of the verses. So, and the term jihad, it then depends who is interpreting for you, because many Muslims, today modern Muslim, we do not agree jihad mean fighting people. They will try to twist, just the way we fight even Christianity, trying to twist the scripture about slavery and the other about scrambling for the other tribes' land. So the Christians, they will always come with other meaning, saying either it's symbolic or it was meant for those times. The same case with the Quran. When you will listen to a certain Muslim and he will twist his meaning and coming up with the many Arabic word, trying to twist them, it was trying to mean this. You are taking it out of context or interpretation. Those Quran that are interpreted in English, they misquoted the Quran and so on. They try to justify to make it good or to make Quran sound good. But that they are, as long as there is verses that say, go and kill those who not embrace Islamic. That is a good reason to mobilize the Islamic, because when somebody does not believe in Islamic, you can conquer him, you can kill him, or force him. Even though you want to die, or he is not interested to become your slave, he must convert to Islamic. And that was our best way Islamic was able to spread all over. But these people, Imam, I have been listening to some of the Islam apologists trying to interpret the Quran and trying to debate with the other people, atheists and Christianity. And you find the way they are trying to twist things. Apart from the guy called Andy Wawa, that person is always genuine with Islamic, saying jihad is okay, to kill people is okay, and by 2050 they will dominate the world. That person is very trying to make Islam very violent. But all the other people, they try to make Islam to be very good, very peaceful. There is no anything wrong in the Quran. So it depends who you are debating with or who you are listening to, because everybody will try to twist according to his side, but not according to what it is. Thank you.
Aha. That is ex-Pastor Stano's take. I see Eugene has raised his hand. I think he wants to respond as well. And then Ochola. Ochola, be keeping your hand up. Be keeping your hand up until you speak. If you lower it, I assume that you don't want to continue. So keep it up until it's time for you to speak. Eugene, you wanted to respond?
Yes. Just to respond on what ex-Pastor Stanod said. Yes, I do agree that, we do have some scriptures that, they sort of order them for bloodshed, just as we have bloody scriptures within the Bible itself. But now taking that aspect and then, trying to say that when someone talks about jihad, they exactly mean that. That's why I said, it depends on the context. And I even went ahead to highlight the different kinds of jihad in which the Quran outlines, including, for example, the struggle against the self, struggle against Satan. There's even struggle in battle, which is now jihad al-qital. And when you've gone through the Quran itself, it's I will use weird, but weird is not the right word. When it comes to jihad in battle, apparently they have their sort of ethics or principles in jihad. Number one, it's supposed to be a defensive warfare. So that's why I told you, in as much as Islam is all that, it has believers, it also has extremists, and just because we have extremists, now we can't say all of Islam is extreme because we have extremists. So what these extremists now do, they will now take things out of context. And even if we were to go by these ethical principles of jihad, they very much go against it. And I'm very sure the moderate Muslims will tell you that, they are Muslims as well, but they're taking things out of context. They're even violating the ethics itself in which it was outlined, which is still weird because, if we can say that Muhammad himself wrote the Quran and he was actually the one who came with these ethical principles, but his actions were quite contrary, because it's actually in history, much of the conquest was actually not as a form of defense, but it was also, just spreading and expanding Islam itself. But it's still important to realize that we have very many kinds of jihad. I think there are around 6, if I can just name them again, just to remind you, we have the struggle against the self. It's known as jihad al-nafs. Then struggle against Satan, which is jihad al-shaitan. And then we have struggle through wealth, it's called jihad al-mal. And then we have struggle through speech as well, jihad al-lisan. And then lastly, struggle in battle, which is jihad al-qital. So depending on who interprets it and who uses it in the specific context, just as I said, when you're dealing with an extremist, now that one takes jihad to their level of, they want to do something with it. Then when you come to the moderate Islam, when they're talking about jihad, through fasting, resisting temptations, trying to, align their morals, something between the line. That is, the spiritual sort of jihad. So it doesn't really mean that jihad necessarily equals to, beheading people or, blowing yourself up. It doesn't really mean that, but we have these extremists who take it out of context. So that's what I'd say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next is Ochola.
Hello, and maybe I begin by this simple illustration that is always being given in the gospel from the words of Christ himself, that a house that is built upon sand and a house that is built upon a rock. So when you talk about, using the same analogy, when you talk about Islam and the religion, Islam is built upon the Quran. So you can't say that the Quran itself being an extremist book, being an extremist doctrine, the doctrines entailed being extremist. There's no way you can say that the religion itself is peaceful or is moderate, is what. These are just ways in which we are trying to sugarcoat everything to seem nice to us and to accommodate, or maybe to bring people to this religion to join. Otherwise, there's no way, as long as it is written tooth for tooth, there's no way of that is war. It simply means war. And then just imagine that I believe that I'm a practicing Muslim, and I believe that the Quran is saying the absolute truth, and these are the words of God the Almighty. And then I have my children whom I have been teaching the words of God and all that, and they believe in that. And then I realize that a friend somewhere or somebody else is trying to corrupt my children, taking them away from what I know is the truth, trying to deny them heaven and the bliss that is going to come here after. So if I imagine somebody who is trying to do away with the beliefs, our doctrines, which are our hopes, I feel the war which I will fight, which is always being termed as a holy war, I think it is indeed holy, and that one, war is justified. So that's automatically, that is violence. I don't see any way in which you can tell me that Islam itself is a peaceful kind of religion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ochola. Please remember to lower your hand after you make a contribution. I would also like to make my contribution on that question. Then we can be thinking about the next one. So the main question is, how did Islam become popular? That's what we are answering. And the next subtopic is, what is the role of birth rate, marriage, the rules around marriage? Can Muslims marry non-Muslims? And what is the role of community? Okay, let's answer that question. What is the role of birth rate, the rules around marriage, as well as community when it comes to the popularity of Islam? How did those factors contribute to making Islam popular? That's the next question. Let's think about that question as I make my contribution on the political aspect of Islam. So I tend to agree with Ochola and what's his name, and ex-Pastor Stano, but I also acknowledge Eugene's nuanced response. In essence, to me, Islam, not to me actually, I've really gone through pains to study that early history of Islam. There's a podcast by Yale University on Islamic origins. There's a professor who's uploaded several clips, several lessons on the origins of Islam. And I listened to him judiciously. And my conclusion is, at least for the first 1,000 years of Islam, Islam spread through political domination and conquest. Political domination and violent conquest. You see, Islam came up during a time when people were expanding their empires. It was a warlike period in human history. And when Prophet Muhammad got that revelation, he was convinced that he needs to spread the message of Islam, that it should be one God. And initially, it began as some sort of persuasion. They call it dawah in Arabic, that you need to do dawah, you need to persuade and sort of evangelize, spread the message. That's what initially he would do. But then, when that didn't work, Muhammad himself, the founder, participated in, let me see, I wrote it down, the number of violent campaigns in which Muhammad himself partook. I think it was 12 or 13. He himself, or he fought in 8 of them, and then he organized, I think, 12 others in his lifetime. So if your founder is a violent individual, what do you expect of the followers? If you contrast someone like who is the founder of the Buddhists? I'm forgetting. Can someone remind me who founded it?
Gautama Buddha.
Buddha.
Yes, thank you. So for someone like the Buddha, he went nowhere near war or a violent campaign. At that time, it had nothing to do with his ideology and his religion. However, with Islam, Muhammad himself was a hands-on guy when it came to fighting wars. So he participated in 8, and then he organized several others. That's one aspect. And then after Muhammad died, he didn't leave a successor. In fact, the word caliph means successor. He didn't leave a successor. So there were tensions between divergent groups. There was the father-in-law and then the son-in-law, and each of them wanted to rule. So the divisions between those two led to the split that we know today called the Sunni and the Shia. The Sunni are the majority, the Shia are the minority. And those successors, the immediate successor of Muhammad, I wrote his name down. It was one Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr continued to expand Islam by conquering people through war. It wasn't anti-convincing or what. He went and he conquered Persia and the Byzantine Empire. He used to raid and charge those people, and then he used to plunder their property. Yeah. In fact, he conquered Damascus from the Byzantines at that time, from the Byzantine Empire in 634 AD. That was the first successor of Muhammad. And then after he left power, there was another guy called Omar. That one also continued to conquer. He went throughout Persia, the Persian Empire at the time. And then he took over Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and several other areas. How did he conquer them? Through war. Through war. And in fact, I remember that professor was giving reasons why the Muslims were so successful in conquering the people around them. Number one, they had knowledge of desert warfare, and they knew how to move around in the desert. They see a city, they come and attack you, and then if they realize it is fortified, they go and hide back in the desert. They really knew how to maneuver when it came to that, and that worked in their favor. Then there were also some discontented religious minorities among their enemies. So those religious minorities came and fought on behalf of the Muslims. Yeah, I'm talking about just the second generation of a successor. Like there's Muhammad, and then there was Abu Bakr, then now there's Omar. At that point, I'm talking about that area in history. Another thing that helped them was that aspect of jihad. Now, I do acknowledge what Eugene had said. The Quran is ambivalent, or it is split when it comes to the definition of jihad. And true to Eugene's definition, jihad is indeed a struggle, an internal struggle. But it also has that external application where now it is a struggle between those who accept Allah and those who do not. So because the Quran is confused about this aspect of jihad, you can interpret it either way. There are direct Quranic verses that talk about defeating people who do not accept Islam. Several of them. You know, they sometimes try to claim, the apologists, the Islamic apologists sometimes try to claim, oh, but that verse that you mentioned, that one was talking about defensive warfare. Yes, there's one verse or maybe two that talk about defensive warfare, but there are also others that talk about defeating enemies of Allah. That can be interpreted as offensive. You know, the fact that your holy text talks about it, you know, let me even read it out so that people can use this in the future. Quran 4:95. Allah hath granted a grade higher to those who strive and fight with their goods and persons than those who sit at home. There's this one, Quran 8:60. Strike terror into the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies. There's another one, 9:29. Fight those who believe not in Allah, nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which hath been forbidden by Allah and his messenger, nor acknowledge the religion of truth, even if they are the people of the book, until they pay the zijya, which is that tax for non-believers, with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. And there are several others that I did not have time to write down. But if your holy text is telling you to defeat people who refuse your message, then can you be in the wrong if you go ahead and enact war against other people? No, you'll not be wrong. Whatever Ochola was saying was absolutely right. Those are not extremists. Those are actually faithful adherents to the text of their faith. So that's what I had to say on the aspect of political conquest and a violent domination in the history of Islam. Now, I asked you guys that question as we proceed. We're talking about how Islam became popular. So what do we think about the role of marriage, the rules around marriage? What do we think about their birth rate? And also, what do we think about community? How does that play into Islam becoming popular? Great, I see Eugene's hand is up. I see Morioki's hand is up. Let's start with Eugene.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. I think it's a bit weird today because I think I'm like playing the devil's, actually not the devil's advocate, because you're talking about Islam and not the devil. Apparently, apparently I've just realized that I'm making arguments like an Islamic apologist, which still I think it tends to make sense. Just because just before I answer the second question, I think I sort of, yes, in as much as military conquest is one of the reasons as why Islam became popular, I think I'm tend to believe that there is an extent to which the military conquest can actually be justified. If I can just talk about that and then I answer the other questions. Part of why I say this, because if you look at the historical context in which those wars were happening just after Muhammad was just shortly before Muhammad died, and even after he died. This was a time where other empires were actually expanding, like really, really expanding through warfare. So it only makes sense if you want to survive as a new empire. you would also expand, and this expanding also came with it came with some advantages, because you can imagine without really seizing your trade routes, and then you have your enemies has your trade routes, essentially it will mean death to your empire. So as sort of as a defense mechanism, it's only logical for you to wage war and to expand your territories as well. So I think it sort of makes sense as to why, for example, Islam was doing that. And funny enough, it's not only Islam was doing that, we had even the Christians doing that as well. The Byzantine Empire, it was actually a Christian empire. To be exact, it was an Eastern Orthodox empire as well. So in as much as it had Damascus at first, it was actually Christian initially before the Muslims came and conquered it as well. So it only makes sense. It was back those days when you don't wage war, someone else would wage war for you. And when you look at the golden era of Islam as well, we had the grandchild of the Mongolian Empire, Genghis Khan, who actually came to Baghdad and they completely destroyed that Islamic city. So it literally sent shockwaves to the Muslim world. So it only makes sense why now they will activate that jihad of defensive warfare now, jihad al-Qital, if I'm to be specific. So I think it's sort of justified. And also, again, in history, there were also some treaties in which really shows that, yes, in as much as these conquests were actually violent, some were sort of ethical, because some didn't really harm the non-combatants, the wives, the children, and all that, the women, the children, and all that. So instead of spreading death and all, it was only the men, the resisting men, who were dying most of the time, but the women and the children were given a chance to convert, and as by doing so, they would actually, now spread Islam as well. So I think it's sort of justified, in as much as most of the time it's not really justified, but you can actually get their own perspective why they will do such things. Yeah. And now, to answer your question, when it comes to their marriages and their community, I think when it comes to Islam as well, it's one of the religions that supports polygamy. Yeah. And this is also one of the main reasons why right now in the modern world, and even in Europe, there is some sort of Islamophobia as well. Because when you look at the population dynamics, whether it's Germany, Italy, we have most of the population, they're actually old people. And as we know, old people don't have kids. They don't have kids as much or as fast as young people do. And now when you have the refugee crisis, we had the Syrian war, yeah? So we had lots of refugees coming in. And, just because of their geography, most of these refugees are actually Islam. And just as the refugees come to your area, it's only expected that they'll bring their culture and their religion with them as well. So this is a religion that promotes polygamy. It really, and again, it really promotes it really believes in having lots and lots of kids. So you can imagine if you have an initial state in which you had much of the population being the elderly people, and we have a few young people, and then you have refugees coming in. If one refugee comes in with his 4 wives and probably maybe 10 kids, all in all, even in a span of 50 years, you will have your country, or that specific country, have a majority of Muslim people. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. It's just a consequences. It's just one of the human traits we have. If you have your culture and you're coming to my place, it's only expected that you'll bring your culture with you, or your religion with you. So yes, it actually plays a role in how fast this specific religion grows. And yes, it's not really surprising that it might even overtake Christianity, because while Christianity preaches monogamy, and all that, one spouse, probably, yes, it also encourages having kids, but you can't compete with someone who has 4 wives when all of you want to have kids. It's common sense. Like, you can't really match up against that. Yeah, thank you.
That is Eugene's take. Now, I really can't let that earlier comment slide, I have to give my take. I know I'm supposed to be a moderator, but I have to take a side here. Oh my gosh, Eugene, you sound like an Islamic apologist. Today, how much are they paying you? Ebu, tell us. Yeah, you sound like an Islamic apologist. I disagree with you totally on that aspect, that first aspect of you saying that they were kind of justified because that was what was going on at the time. Everybody was doing it, even the Christians were doing it. What is popular doesn't make something proper. Just because everybody was owning slaves doesn't automatically make slavery all right or ethical. Just because people were busy conquering others and killing them in hundreds or thousands doesn't mean that it is okay. Oh my goodness, that's totally unacceptable. Yes, there were some defensive wars that the Muslims participated in. There, I would have supported them. If somebody comes and hits your cheek, you have a right to hit back. Defensive warfare, I'm with you there. But you going to other people's territory and killing them, there is nothing ethical about that. So when these Muslims come here and tell us that their religion is a religion of peace and they serve a just God, that's not a just God, one that would mandate or allow the summary killing of people. Even what you were saying of the men that were the ones who were suffering, yes, in warfare, the men were being killed. However, the women were being taken into slavery. Islam endorses slavery. They were being taken as Muslims, as slaves. Even Muhammad himself took up many slave women and they used them as sex slaves. There's nothing acceptable about it. And if it's for a belief, it's for a fictional idea, religion, no, absolutely unacceptable. Hapo mimi siko. I would really not rally behind it. So anyway, next is Morioki. Please let's remember we are answering this question on marriage, on birth rate, and also on community, on Islamic community, the communities that they form. How does that affect its popularity? Morioki, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dorcas. I think I'm with you. I'm with you there. In fact, Eugene is saying they killed resisting men. So we ask Eugene, is it okay to kill resisting men? He said that they killed only the men who are resisting. Like it's okay to kill resisting men. Eugene, no, killing anyone.
I think you're making a straw man, but go on, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not good to kill resisting men. Okay, then what I'll say, like the Muslim women, when they cover themselves, yeah, when this idea came from somewhere. I think there's a problem of men cheating in affairs. That's why this idea came of them being covered. So now these women, when they cover themselves, it shows that they respect themselves. It's for me personally, I respect that covering, the hijab and all that. Me, I feel like it works to some extent because when you're married, a man can't last for you. Once you cover your face, you cover your eyes, another man won't last for you. So for me, it works. There'll be less cheating and less affairs. And also things like gambling, alcohol, they're very strict. Like a real Muslim man can't enter a bar. It's forbidden to enter a bar. So such things, for me, it works. Yeah, thanks.
Morioki, there will be less cheating and last, okay, can
the same case Morioki, the same case Morioki, it will work if men will cover themselves to avoid the women from lust.
But women are more vulnerable than men. Women are vulnerable than men. That's why it's women who cover themselves, and it works because once you're married, you're covered. So another man won't see your face on your outside, so he won't lust for you. So that makes sense for me. It makes a lot of sense. They won't see your face, they won't lust for you. So your marriage is safe. You have a safe marriage.
But Muriuki, if it works, why do we have rape cases in the Middle East? Why do we have rape cases in Saudi Arabia? Yet women are covering themselves. So what do you mean that it works?
Those are criminals. I'm sure those are not the extremes. Those are like criminals.
It doesn't work, Muriuki. It doesn't.
And also, Morioki, why are you absolving responsibility from the men? Why are you putting the burden of quote unquote decency on women only? It's as if you're assuming that men are animals and they cannot control whatever happens to them, that the moment they see a woman's legs, immediately they are going to cheat with her. Do you see that there's a jump in your thought process? You've gone from one extreme to another.
No, Dorcas, let's be honest, men are more aggressive than women. Men are the aggressors.
Can somebody, yes, let's have other people rebutting Morioki, because I see that his point is baseless. To me, it just does not make sense. Anyway, next was Ndeve, then we'll have El Maestro, then Eugene, in that order. Ndeve?
Thank you, Dorcas. Okay, Morioki. You are treating men as animals. And if they are animals, guess who is supposed to be tied down? Not the woman, but the animal. It is the animal that is supposed to tie down. But are men animals? In fact, a man should be able to deny me a baby. He has his fun and denies me a baby and go away. That is the power everybody has, and me too. I can deny him a baby. Tell him you, vahi, uvai. That's what we are saying. We are saying we're humans. We have got capabilities. We have got self-control. That is one thing. But when you say that all that is put on the woman, so that if the woman is raped, they say, how was she dressed? That is a problem. What about if it's a baby or a little girl coming from school and she showed her, and she jumped the rope and she showed her ankles? Then she's raped, and then, oh, she was jumping rope. It is her fault. She showed her neck. She showed her legs. Come on. We live with these people. They are our brothers, they are our fathers, and if our fathers do us wrong, or our brothers whom we live with do us wrong, it is wrong, and they should also go to jail. Therefore, if I am safe to live with my father from the time I'm a little kid up to the time I get married, I should be safe with other men out there until or unless I say yes. So let us just say we do not rape each other just because you showed me your legs or you showed me your chest. Somebody from your area, Muriuki, used to say that a good man has got a chest you can cut mbao out of. There you go. So it shouldn't be that if I see somebody with a big chest that I should go and rape him. No. So let us not go there. Islam is wrong, right? In fact, Christianity too is wrong when it also advocated that go finish the Amorites, and God ordered kill the Amorites. That is wrong. When the people went and they did crusades, they were also wrong. They were doing, I don't know what God sent them, but it is also wrong. You should not be able to force people to force your popularity with the edge of the sword, because when the world decides that we no longer want to live with a sword, that religion will have to die. So let me come again to Muriuki with you saying that the Muslims do not drink. Yes, some Muslims do not drink, but I'm going to tell you, per capita, some of the Islamic countries have got the biggest imports of alcohols. You tell me who is drinking that alcohol? It's only the non-Muslims. I have got somebody that is a professor in one of the universities in Saudi Arabia. He manages to get his drink. So, hey, all these things, humans, you cannot say blanket that Muslims don't drink. Christians, there was a time Christians couldn't drink. Christians is still drunk. So people will be who they will be. You will have a problem in Kenya with this and this, and there are honest Kenyans in Kenya. Okay, they suffer with everybody else, but there are honest Kenyans in Kenya. So don't give a blank. Let's try not to give a blanket cleansing of Islam or cleansing of Christians before we remember the Amorites. Always remember the Amorites. They are no longer with us. Why? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Very well said. Very well said, Deve. You couldn't have put it better. Next is El Maestro.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So which question were you answering before I answer Muriuki? Which other question were you answering?
What was the role of marriage and birth rate in making Islam popular?
Because before I go to that, Muriuki, let me ask you a question. Now,
Lucas, I can't hear him. Lucas, he's low on my side. Is it me alone? He's very low. I don't know if it's me. I don't know.
Yes. El Maestro, ongeza sauti.
okay, sauti iko juu kidogo sasa?
Yeah,
Or is this
I can hear you.
low?
Yeah, I can hear you. Me, I can hear you. I don't know about the others.
Okay.
That's better.
Okay, so Muruki, the first question I ask you is, you are saying that the hijab and the way Muslims women wear it helps to reduce cheating. So it means it's only men who cheat and not women. Huh?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
But you said it.
I didn't say
So
that. Yeah.
so you can't tell me that at hijab and what it helps to reduce it helps to someone not to cheat. No, if someone is a cheater, he's a cheat. If someone is loyal, he's loyal. So you can't tell me that I don't know hijab plays part. No, those are just things that they're just following what the Quran says about mostly the Muslim women covering up. So on the question of the marriage and I don't know family playing part, I think Muslims, an average Muslim family has like 4 children right now. An average Muslim family or an average Muslim father or mother, they have like 4 children. That is compared to the new age Christians who you find that they are satisfied with the one child, or even some of them that are even saying they don't want a child, that you're a Christian. Okay, I don't know, but now I think the Muslims, them giving birth in numbers is what has also played part in them being popular. An average family having like 4 children here in because the Muslims they live together. It's like yes, I know they don't have much money, but the question on money, it is not really a problem to them, unlike Christians, especially in Africa, where I think that can also be playing part in Christians these days deciding to only have only one child because of these things to do with the economy in Africa, but also in USA. Even here, if I see in movies in USA, an average family in USA, and most of them are Christians, is like only one child. If most, it's 2 children. So the birth rate, I think it also plays part, and actually they're even increasing that because if they know that in 2050 they might overtake Christianity, they continue doing it. They won't slow down. And Murugi, please, hijab does not play any part in someone cheating or not, because even the same, like I've already told you, but you denied it. Yes.
All right. Thank you, El Maestro. Hijab will not keep somebody from having an erection. Next is Eugene.
Mine is just a point of clarity because I think I actually ruffled some feathers. And I even saw in the chat that even my own morality has started to be questioned because anyway, morality is relative and all that. However, I was just outlining, past events in history. It's not that I'm actually responsible for them, but things happen the way they did. But I'm still, I'm still emphasizing on the point. In as much as, yes, Muriuki, I think you had earlier misunderstood what I said. I never said that killing of, people who are resisting Islam is actually okay. I never said such a thing. So I never made such an argument. I said that, when it comes to defensive warfare, and in Islam carefully outlined what just war means. There's even a just war theory in which, you tell your empire or you tell your neighboring empire to convert to Islam. So if they comply with your terms, there's no need for bloodshed. And there were actually, in history, there were actually some empires which did that way. So in history, we had two famous caliphates. We had the Umayyad Caliphate, which expanded all the way to Spain from Middle East. So you can imagine, in as much as it was through military expansion, we had just war. We had just war taking in its effect as well. They used to come to a civilization, tell them that, you know what, we are actually giving you a chance to convert to Islam peacefully. So there were other empires which actually complied, and there was no bloodshed. Things were actually smooth, and that's the reason why we had the Spanish Caliphate. It was actually called, I think I've forgotten the specific name. It actually outlived most of the caliphates in the Middle East because it never participated in majority of the warfare. It was only diplomacy and all that just war theory. However, when it now comes to why I'm actually justifying the territorial expansion, now I've talked about the Umayyad Caliphate. We had another one known as the Abbasid Caliphate. It had its capital where Baghdad is right now. So this other caliphate, it never really took expansion. It never really took expansion that serious, and they actually paid for it. That's why I'm telling you that I think it was actually justified to expand your empire, because if you don't expand your empire, you actually become a sitting duck. In as much as right now we can say, what, war is unnecessary, war is all that. Those guys back then, if you never participated in warfare, you will be wiped out completely. Like when it comes to the Mongolians, these guys didn't have any mercy. They used to kill everyone in your civilization, women, kids, especially kids, because they know these kids will be raised and then they will come for revenge. So they will wipe them off clearly. Now, when it comes to the Abbasid Caliphate, this one's now participated in, just academic stuff, not warfare, just philosophy, science, and all that. It was actually during the Islamic Golden Age. But now we had a threat. The Mongolian invasion was coming. And when I'm talking about the Mongolian invasion, this is an empire that spanned from Asia, deep Asia, all the way into Europe. So you can imagine if you are a sitting duck there because you're peaceful, because you don't want to expand your territory, because you don't like war, you will actually not survive. And as we know, survival is not an option. Survival was actually things people were doing back then. And as an empire, for you to survive, you had no choice but to expand. Now, the Abbasid Caliphate, they were of the idea that, let's just be sitting ducks. We don't like warfare. We are not like the Christians. We don't want to expand. So it actually became a sitting duck in Baghdad, in the capital city. So these Mongolians came. They actually wiped out everyone, including the Caliph himself. So what does that tell you? The rest of the Muslim world was actually met the news in shock and in disbelief. We had the Mamluks in Egypt. So when the news got to them that, your cousins, who are the Sunni Islam, called the Abbasid Caliphate, were wiped off completely by the Mongols just because they never expanded. So according to you, what will be the most logical, rational way out of there? Because you can't really have diplomacy with the Mongolians. It's either you engage in warfare or not. So that's why they also had to up their game, whether it's aggressive military expansion and all that. As I'm saying this, let the idea that, Eugene loves warfare, Eugene is immoral and all that, let not that idea come to mind. I'm just telling you what history has, what we learned from history. This is actually justified why they did what they did. So that's why I'm of the idea that, it's sort of justified. But I'm not, again, a warmonger. I'm saying that right now, let's expand as well as atheists by warfare and all that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just highlighting what went down in history. So it's sort of justified. Not entirely, though, but it is justified. Yeah, thanks.
Eugene, I'm not boarding. I'm not boarding. You stay there with your justification of their actions. I still don't see the sense in it. You're talking about how they would use just war in that they preach to you. So if you accept, it will be peaceful. If you don't accept, nah, how is that just? I'm forcing you to take on my point of view, my belief. If you don't, nah, that to me is not justifiable. Then even this one of your empire dying, that inherent in that statement is your assumption that an empire thriving, a political domination is a goal to be sought by a religion. That's the rub right there, and that's what makes it a problem. Religion is not supposed to be a political tool. It's supposed to be a belief system. And so what if your empire dies? That's what happens. Anyway, as I said, I have no problem with defensive warfare. If people come to your backyard, then you have a right to defend yourself. But you anticipating, hey, the Mongolians went and attacked those other guys, so hey, let's not sit here. Let's also go and attack them. That now shifts.
And it actually worked. It actually worked. Imagine it actually worked. That's what the Mamluk Egyptians did. If they wouldn't have done that, they would have been wiped off.
Let me finish. It doesn't matter whether something worked or not. At the end of the day, it is whether it is a just thing to do or not. So yes, maybe for that particular example, it did. And of course, for many things, many evil things, many unjust things work. Colonialism worked. Slave ownership worked. But is it just? That's the problem right there. And that's why I think Eugene and his moral nihilism doesn't augur well with my perspective. I think morals should exist whether or not you're considering history or whether or not you're considering present day. I refuse to give the Muslims a clean bill of health here. But anyway, but let's agree to disagree. Let's agree to disagree because it looks like we have very different perspectives on what is just and what is not. So next in line, El Maestro, remember to lower your hand. I think it was up when you are contributing. So next is Morioki.
Thanks, Dorcas. Just a quick revert. I want the men here to be honest. The men, just be honest. When you see a woman dressed in a hijab, if they want to cover their eyes, the lust will reduce. Be honest. When a woman is covered, her face is covered, she has socks, hands are covered, the lust reduces. Men, please be honest. Thanks.
Muriuki, don't general. Just say me as Muriuki. Just say me as Muriuki, my lust reduces. But don't make the fallacy of, general, faulty generalization, because people don't really have the same, the same arousals. For example, you can be aroused by big boobs. Probably someone else doesn't, and you're both men. Just say me as Muriuki, to my perspective, I think this, but
Don't generalize.
No, this point, there are no boobs showing. The boobs aren't showing for sure. There's no butt
Yes,
showing.
that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Say me as Muruki, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying me as Muruki. I tend to think my lust reduces if you're a woman and wear hijab. But don't say we as men or all the men. Can you agree with me? It doesn't really work that way. Just say we can't really bite you. We can't hit you.
Okay, Eugene, there's no difference for you. There's no difference. Honestly, there's no difference with
There's personally, there's no difference with me. Probably if there's any difference with you, it's okay. That's what I'm telling you. Just say me as Miruki. Don't generalize things because we all have different fetishes. We all have different, probably I'm even gay, but you don't know. So there's really something wrong when you say that. Can all the men agree with me? It doesn't work that way.
Okay, Eugene. Okay, one point, Eugene, like you're saying, war was justified. So I'm sure the person who thought of the hijab at that time, something happened for them to think that way, to think that there's a problem, let's cover our women. I'm sure back in those days, something happened for them to create the hijab. Thanks.
Now, let me respond to Morioki and also make my contribution on this question of birth rates and marriage. Then I'd like you guys to think of the next question, which is actually the second last question. What was the role of apostasy? Even today, apostasy laws, when you leave Islam, there are certain rules that apply to you. When you're an ex-Muslim, there are certain freedoms you don't have. Yeah, and some of them are codified through apostasy laws. So there's that aspect, and there's also blasphemy, speaking against Islam, criticizing Islam has certain repercussions. So what is the role? That's the next question. I want you guys to think of the answer as I'm making my contribution. What is the role of blasphemy laws? Not allowing people to criticize Islam in predominantly Muslim countries, majority Muslim countries. What is the role of that? And what is the role of apostasy laws as well in making Islam popular? Okay, in making Islam grow. What is your take on that question? So as you think about it, I wanted first to respond to Morioki and on this idea of controlling women's bodies. All of this is justified by the idea of men's lust. You're saying that you need to control men's lust. So if I may ask Morioki, what are you afraid of? With this lust, what's the worst that can happen when men are lustful?
You've had this phrase, people say, women are the weaker sex. It's true. Women are the weaker sex.
Answer my question. Don't tell me about weak sex. I've asked you, what's the problem with you having lust?
I might choose to react on it. Yeah. I might choose to react on it. I might choose to react and harm the woman.
So rape is a concern. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Aha.
And also one sexual harassment also. Sexual harassment.
Rape and sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, which is also a bad example. Generation.
Morioki, you can mute because I'm getting feedback. Ochola, you are saying something.
Oh, I was saying that the lust can bring about some maybe some sexual misbehavior in public places, which can even interfere with the morality of the younger generation, like the kids who are just innocent.
Now, this is the problem I have with this kind of thinking. Ochola and Muriuki. I have a very serious problem. Oh, Debe, hold on a bit. Debe, let me respond to them. You'll come in shortly. What you people are doing is you are taking the problem away from the source. Because if it's rape that is the issue, as we know, for majority of the cases, 80% of rape cases are committed by men. So clearly, men are the problem. So you are absolving men from that responsibility of taming their lust, because your concern is rape. You will act on the lust and it will lead to rape. So instead of dealing with those men, you are placing the burden on the victim, the woman. And you are assuming that it is an immediate knee-jerk reaction. The moment a man gets lustful, he will go and rape the woman. That couldn't be further from the truth. How do I know this? In Western countries, in places where there are very low rape cases, especially in like Scandinavian countries, those women wear what they want. In fact, it can be argued that the men have become desensitized to seeing women's private parts, if I may call them, to seeing women's thighs and to seeing their cleavages, etc. They have become desensitized. It is not automatic that if I see something that I am attracted to, that immediately I'm going to jump on it and I'm going to force myself onto that person, onto the victim, onto the target. No, the person who has a problem is that rapist. They need to work on their mindset. It's not automatic that every single man who sees a thigh somewhere or a cleavage somewhere, that they will become a rapist. If they are raised properly, if they are taught about consent, about respecting women's bodies, they won't act on it. That's why we have very low rape cases in those Scandinavian countries. And I put it to you that once there was a high case of immigrant migration, of Muslim migration into those Scandinavian countries, the rape cases soared, and it was found that majority of the rapists were those Muslims who were not raised to respect women's bodies and to be decent human beings. That's the problem, Morioki. The problem, you are tackling a symptom. You're not tackling the source of the problem. You are supposed to teach boys from a tender age that do not violate a woman's body. Do not rape her. It is not automatic that the moment she wears a cleavage, she has invited you to come and participate, to come and take her sexually. Once you raise boys that way, once society creates those norms, then it will not be a problem. But once you try to demonize a very innate human trait, once you try to demonize it and to stifle it, what you teach the men is that they are entitled to women's bodies. That the moment a woman wears something revealing, then it is okay for the man to take her, to rape her, or to do whatever he wants with her. You are shifting the burden from the real problem, the real source, and you are placing it, unfortunately, on the victim, who is the woman. That's not how you deal with the issue. You deal with the issue by teaching boys from a young age to respect women's bodies. You can be lustful. I have been lustful. I've watched things on videos. I've watched movies and I've gotten lustful. I've gotten lustful for what is happening in the movie. Does that mean that I go and act on it? No. You just stay there and it subsides. it subsides. You don't need to legislate it. And this brings in the other issue of enforcement. Once you have such laws, once you legislate how people dress, how do you reinforce it? You reinforce it by oppressing individuals. Look at what happened in Iran. That woman whose hijab didn't cover maybe just a strand of her hair, she was beaten to death. She was beaten to death. That's what happens when you focus on a symptom of the problem rather than the cause of the problem. If rape is what you want to deal with, then deal with the boys and the social norms that make it okay for them to violate women's bodies. Don't go taking away their freedoms. Don't go taking away their freedoms, Morioki. That enforcement of those laws is what causes oppression. If you go to Afghanistan, they've taken it to the very extreme. Now they're not even allowed to show their eyes. They're even putting a gauze, a net over their eyes. How is that okay? Yes, David, you can come in. Mm-hmm. Okay, Morioki, go first, and then Deve can come in on this. Yeah.
Okay, Lucas, by the way, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You're saying teach men how to respect women's bodies. I get you. How about the same thing? Tell girls when they're young, when you're in public, cover your private parts. Is that wrong? Even them tell girls to respect their bodies also, just like the boys. Boys respect girls' bodies. Even girls themselves respect your bodies. Don't come out in public half naked. Would that work?
No, because as I told you, Morioki, we have over-sexualized women's bodies. If you go to a place like Canada in the summer, a woman can wear hot pants. And men can sit around her and there's nothing that happens to them because they've grown accustomed to it. Like you who makes it seem like a sin, oh, it's so bad to see a woman's thighs, you make it look like it's a bad thing, that women should be shamed for having a certain body part. Why is it we don't ask watu wa mjengo not to cover their shirts, as in not to reveal their shirts when they're working? Why is it it's just women who are demonized for having this?
They're working. Yeah, they're working. Yeah, they are working.
So what? Even some of these women who are wearing hot pants, they can be going about their own business. It's not their intention to be sexually attractive or whatever. They're just wearing what's comfortable. It's summer, yeah, it's hot, and they're just wearing it. So I think we need to refrain from demonizing women for having biological body parts. That's a problem with our social norms, because there are men out there who see women wearing hot pants and they're okay. You have a problem because you're not used to it. You're not accustomed to it. You're used to demonizing it. But Never, you wanted to say something on that. I don't know if Eugene also wanted to mention that. If it's that point, they can still mention it, and then we can proceed to the next point. But just let's first comment this one.
Yes, I'm going to try to be brief as usual. The thing is this, and I think I'm going to say, and I'm going to go there. I think Africans are very, very hypocritical. My grandmother, actually my grandmother on my mother, the mother of my mother, she still had beads. When I was 10, she still had beads that, she was so mad, we went and played with them. Our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers, they did not wear much. How is it that we have become so holier that it is the Bible? And I'm going to go there again. We have forgotten that our parents, our great-grandparents, they did not wear much. Muriuki, please, don't make me call you a hypocrite. I am going to tell you that your grandparents did not wear much clothing, and they did not go raping each other because they were not animals. So if you new guys have become animals, you cannot excuse it. You have to find the reason why you have just become animals, because the Bible told you that you had to wear clothes, and then all of a sudden you became animals. How? How did you, from one generation to the other, how did we become animals? That we dare not to see somebody that's not dressed. Africans used not to need so much clothing because it was very hot. It was a very hot place. So I'm going to leave it there. And Murioki, please, I'm just going to leave it there. We did not used to wear much clothing.
Perfectly said. Now, Eugene, is your hand on this
Yes,
issue?
it's up.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, Muriuki and I think Ochola, I'd say that I'm actually disgusted. Utterly disgusted as a man. That's why I told you from the start that we don't even ascribe to the same morals. What you think are moral, I don't think them as moral, and I think I find them laughable. If you're going by Muriuki's logic, apparently, because to what Muriuki is actually insinuating is, it's like, all the men are rapists. Yeah, they are just waiting for a trigger, and the trigger is just seeing a woman's thighs, a woman's breast, a woman's underarms, so that they can do the unthinkable. I think that's a very wrong in all dimensions, from a scientific perspective, from a secularist perspective, from an atheistic perspective as well, and even from a critical thinking perspective. I think it's actually a shame that we are actually borrowing Western Victorian ideals, probably which emanated from Christianity and Islam, and trying to supplant it in our culture. We had no such foolish thoughts. When you go to, is it Swaziland? We have women who don't even wear bras, who don't, they don't cover up their breasts. So Muriuki, let me ask you, if you happen to go to Swaziland, now it's called Eswatini. If you go to Eswatini and then you look at such women, do you want to tell us that you will rape them because you can't control your urges? Just a question. It's not that I'm judging you. I just want to know how you think on such.
I can't rape anyone.
Why? No. Based on what you said, you earlier said that when Dorcas was actually asking you that, so what's the essence of maybe telling women to cover themselves up, and then you say that, it's to prevent men from doing the unthinkable, which is rape. So I'm asking you, if you go to Eswatini, because it's their culture, they don't actually cover up their breasts. So you are a visitor there, you see women walking, topless. Will you rape them? Alternatively, I can ask you, if you go to the beach, in the places where they are right now experiencing maybe summer, and then you see women in bikinis, will you rape them?
No. Eugene.
Why? Why? No. Why? You won't rape them. Yes, you won't rape them. But why? Why won't you rape them?
In a beach, that's what in a beach is expected. In a beach, that's how you dress. In a beach, how do you dress in a beach?
Muriuki, no. Okay. Right now, when you go to the street and then, for example, you see a lady in her miniskirts, will you rape her?
Where?
Right now, if it's daytime, just assume it's daytime, and then you see a lady in miniskirts, will you rape her?
No, I won't.
Why?
I'll control myself.
Okay, so you can control yourself, yeah, but why did you tell Dorcas that instead of telling Dorcas that men should control themselves, you told Dorcas that it's justifiable for ladies to cover themselves up because men will rape her? That's what you said, right? So why can't these men control themselves as well? Why can these men control themselves instead of forcing them to cover themselves up? Why?
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand why.
Yeah, Eugene, rape
because
is
all I'm saying, because the problem with your thought, Muriuki, or anyone who supports your thought, I'm seeing there's the issue, you actually violating someone's autonomy because of your own failure from your own side. If you can't control your urges, you can't really compromise someone's autonomy. Number two, it's actually victim blaming.
Ochola, wait. Ochola, raise your hand.
Ochola, wait. I'll just address you, Ochola, as well. I'll just address you. I'm actually patient. I'll also address you as well. Number two, it comes to victim blaming. When it comes to issue as serious as rape, you can't really reduce. It's actually some sort of reductionism and some sort of weird, outdated victim blaming. Because
right here, a parent is complaining that her girl was raped, and then you're there telling the parent that it's probably the lady's fault because of how she dressed. You can't really address the culprit who did the action. So do you see any problem with that? Number 3, Muriuki, number 3, yeah? You are failing to address the root cause. You're failing to address the root cause. You know, controlling your urge, just as you said, you can control your urges. Do you think someone who can't control the urges is a normal person? Do you think it's actually normal not to control your urge? Is it normal?
It's normal. Yeah, it's normal to control. Yeah, normal is control. It's normal to control your urges. Yeah.
So, do you agree with the idea that not failure to control your urges is something which can be considered abnormal? Do you agree with that statement, or you still don't agree with that statement?
Yeah, okay. I failure to control. Now again, it depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. That's a huge depend.
So it depends. How exactly? How does it depend?
Yeah, some people go on dates and they rape. It's called date rape. You go on a date with a girl and then you rape her.
So the problem with date rape is the problem the girl or the culprit who did it, the rapist.
Yeah. Now again, Eugene, you have to know the story behind what happened. Eh? You have to know the details.
Okay. The last one is the preventive measures. You utterly believe that if right now, if we made like all our ladies, all our women to wear hijabs, do you really think it will really reduce the rape cases?
That again in this research, but it will help to some extent. It will help.
Do you think why? How? Do you have any studies to show that? Do you have any studies? Any empirical studies done? No, I'm asking you, do you have any? So
no.
I tend to wonder, how do you make decisions in your life if you don't have any evidence to go by, if you don't have any data to go by? How do you think this is right and this is wrong? How do you think this is truth and this is false? For example, how are you even alive, Muriuki? How do you make your life choices?
Okay, Eugene, let me answer you. Eugene, I'll come back to you. You said in the past the Muslims were justified. So I'm sure for the hijab to begin, something happened for them to have the idea of a hijab. Something was happening at that time. So somebody thought, let's cover our women. Something happened, Eugene.
What is this thing that happened? What is this thing that happened? What is this? To me, yes, something happened. To me, what really happened, you see, just like all major religions, Muriuki, for example, if we have a bigoted person who has his backward ways of thinking, just the same way we had Hitler, who hated the Jews, and he came to power and made his hate law. It was actually okay to hate on Jews because we had a weird person in power. So what's really to say that when it comes to these people who make the rules in religion? For example, you have this lustful man. It's actually okay to be lustful, but is it okay to act on it? Is it okay to act on your lust?
So Eugene, I wasn't there. Okay, Eugene, I wasn't there, but I'm sure what happened.
You wasn't there, but you're sure something happened. So isn't that double speech?
But for sure, there must have been. There was rape.
Anyway, it's okay. I think Ochola had something to say. It's okay. I think I'm just done. I still don't get your logic.
Okay, thank you, Eugene, for that very nice interaction with Muriuki. You asked very poignant questions, which revealed the shakiness of that perspective. Because if Muriuki will not rape a woman when he's in the streets of Nairobi or when he goes to a beach, then why is he justifying the same from other men? They are the problem, not the woman. They are the problem. And stop shifting the blame back to history. Oh, something happened. Even if it happened then, we are talking about now. I don't care what happened then. We are talking about now and the situation today. So stop trying to run away from the issue. So I don't know if Ochola, you still have something to say, Ama Okosawa, because your hand is not up.
Oh, maybe just a question. Is it okay to walk naked? As in, is it okay to walk naked or clothed? As in, do you just feel it's normal when someone walks naked and the other person walks clothed or decently dressed? Which is which? Do you feel it's just okay, or when both?
Have you seen anyone in any part of the world walking naked? and normalizing that. There's no one who's naked. If someone is walking naked, they're crazy.
And in any case, other than for sanitary purposes, nudists do. I would never walk naked.
Exactly.
But let me tell you, there is even nothing. I will do it. But when you think about it, hello, what is wrong with walking naked? Oh, sorry. So, Ochola, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. If people decide not to wear clothes, to me, the only problem is that if you're going to be naked, sit on a towel or something. You can't just sit on chairs when you are naked for obvious reasons. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with walking naked. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Because for example, when you see fruits, when you see mango trees that are ripe, do you just go and eat them just because they are there in the market? They're available, and you are hungry. You don't eat them. You buy them first, and then you go eat them. You cannot rape somebody just because you have got the urge, and you shouldn't just get the urge. And even if you get the urge, it is normal, but don't act on it. Why do you want to act on it?
But assume nobody acts. Is it just normal to walk, as in whatever Murithi was talking about is not literally naked, but maybe half nakedness. So if you are preventing that full nakedness, you're ashamed of that full nakedness. Why are you not accepting the half nakedness to be allowed?
Ochola, let me ask you a question. When you go to work, the main reason you wear clothes, is it because you're scared someone might rape you, or it's because you're trying to protect yourself from the elements, or maybe hygiene purposes? Because I'm getting the idea that you think we invented clothes solely because someone might rape us. Is that what you're trying to make? Is that the argument you're trying to put forth? Do people wear clothes because they might get raped, or is it that probably they want to get comfortable?
It is for different reasons, and all the reasons
for different reasons, yeah, for
yes,
different reasons. So
one of the reasons
why are you framing your question like, for example, if it's actually wrong, someone, because even for different reasons, someone might actually walk naked for different reasons, probably for protest as well, or probably because there, as Ndeve had said, nudism is actually a thing. So what's wrong with that?
That is an abnormal scenario. That's an abnormal scenario.
It's abnormal to you. That's why I told you morality is relative. Never assume that we share the same morals generally as atheists or generally as men, or
there's something
whichever group you're trying to say.
There's something objective about good and bad and evil, actually. I don't believe in...
There's nothing objective about it. I think we had a Zoom. You can actually go past our Zoom discussion. We actually had a Zoom about the objectivity of morals. There's nothing as objective morals anywhere else. There's nothing. So it's pretty much a slippery slope for you to say just because you find it's wrong to you, you can't really dictate to others that it should be wrong to them as well. Because actually, what if I'm a nudist? Well, what if I'm a nudist and I'm feeling okay walking naked? So what's the point?
I would prefer a world
mute.
Yes, Ochola, you're saying something, Ochola?
I was saying,
yes.
I was saying that I would prefer a world where people are well dressed, people are clothed.
Yes, you personally.
Just allow me to complete what I'm saying. As opposed to a world where people are walking naked in the name of their freedom, their choices, and all of that. So when it comes to dress code, then I rather become a Muslim than becoming an atheist, whereby there won't be any standard when it comes to dress code and all of that. So maybe that's the point of disagreeing. But I'm open. I will do more research and all that, and I'm open-minded anyway. Thank you.
Okay, shortly before you go, that's why I was telling you, there's no problem with that, actually. I have no problem with people who have different opinions. I actually welcome different opinions. I was just asking you that while it's okay to have different opinions, it's not okay to impose your opinion and to put it like everyone else is for your own opinion, because it doesn't really work that way. That's what I was saying. So I think, yeah, it's well and good.
Okay, thank you. Eugene, in fact, you've said the exact thing I wanted to say on that point, that even if you have a problem being aroused by seeing women's bodies, that shouldn't warrant you curtailing their rights because of it. That's a problem with you. You need to deal with it yourself rather than imposing it on others. And as Neve said with her example, if you look at African culture, just a few generations ago, she gave the example of her grandmother. She used to walk around in beads or sisal skirts, and there was no issue there. This is just a social construction, people. It's a social construction that was brought to us by the Westerners, the colonialists and the Christians. They came here and demonized women's bodies specifically, not men's. Men can go around bare-chested and there's no problem. In Amjengo, you can be bare-chested and there's no problem. But for women, they demonized it. It wasn't like that. It's not carved in stone. It's not an immutable fact that when women expose certain parts of their bodies, that, oh, it will lead to very dire consequences like rape. No, that's not how it was. History shows us, our own African history shows us that that was not the case. It's a mentality you have, and it is actually a bigoted mentality. It shows that you are a misogynist. You are just targeting a particular group and you are making them out to be the bad guys. The women are the bad guys when that isn't an immutable fact. Juliana, I see your hand is up. Where? Tumewaka moto, this topic.
Yeah, I am so glad this is one of the topics I was able to tune into. And I'm just going to say something small, just maybe to shock a few people. I think, Ochola, you talked about, do people walk around naked? Well, let me tell you something. In here, I'm in Edmonton. I think 3 or 4 times a year, there is this group of nudists. They rent out the city swimming pool. Our swimming pools are enclosed. They're closed because it's too cold. So they rent out the whole pool and they have nudist swimming. So you can sign up and go to one of those pools. And every time my friends, we keep saying we should go, we should go, we should go. One of these days we'll go. Then there are other groups where it's warmer. I think maybe in Ontario where Ndeve is, it's actually warmer. So they might have more outside nude beaches where you actually go as a team and you're there and there are rules. And like Ndeve says, if you're going to walk around naked, make sure you carry a towel so that you don't sit just anywhere on any chair, because those are the rules that they have. So these things happen, and those people, for them, it's normal because there's nothing wrong with that. So when I go to those facilities and events, it will be pretty normal for me to remove all my clothes, walk around with, well, I have to wear shoes because I don't want my feet to be cut with sharp rocks. At least I'm wearing shoes, but I don't have any clothes. Carrying my towel so that when I'm going to sit somewhere, I put it down and I sit. And it is normal. So, and again, my background is Luya, and I know for sure we did not wear clothes. We actually wore the sisal skirts. In fact, I remember when we were growing up doing traditional dances, we would sort of make sisal skirts, but of course we couldn't go topless, but we were sort of trying to emulate what our ancestors used to wear. No tops, bottoms. And in fact, I understand, I don't know if it's true now, but I recall when I was visiting Mombasa in the 70s, I believe, or 80s. Is it the Giriama women? They still go topless. So
yes, they used to wear just the what is it called? That skirt. That is skirt. Yeah. They just would wear that skirt called I forgot.
Yes. So it's all good. Thank you.
Yes, Juliana, thank you for that example. And as we said, if you go to a beach, people are in bikinis and swimming costumes. Do people go around raping people at beaches? They don't. So if you can hold off your urges at the beach, you can hold it off anywhere else. Okay, guys, we can go on and on about this topic. That's not the topic of the day. It's not about decent dressing or immodest dressing, whatever. The topic is, how did Islam become popular? So my next question, and it's a final one actually, because I'm seeing it's 1 p.m. at 1 a.m. The final topic or question is, what is the role of apostasy laws and blasphemy laws in causing Islam to grow, forbidding people from speaking against Islam when they become ex-Muslims. When you leave Islam, you're forbidden from criticizing it. And even outsiders, Christians themselves, atheists or whoever from other parts of the country are forbidden from speaking against the mighty prophet Muhammad and any other aspect of Islam that is called blasphemy. And if it's in the law, those are blasphemy laws. So what role does that play in expanding, in causing Islam to remain popular? As you think of that one, it's the last question we are answering as we also give our closing remarks. Let me answer the one on marriage and high birth rate. So I agree with all of you that on average, Muslim women have more children than non-Muslim women. It's been shown that they have 4 kids per woman, and most of them are encouraged to marry. So if you're married, and they're encouraged to marry, and they're discouraged from becoming independent, from becoming economically empowered. They're told that their role is to nurture and to serve their husbands. So because you're not doing anything, you're just a housewife and you are sitting around, what do? You get pregnant and have kids. So on average, they have 4 kids, while the atheists, the secularists in the West, are having less and less children. There's a declining birth rate around the world. In most developed countries, there's a declining birth rate. Those people are usually Christians or non-believers. They don't have children at all. So obviously, the numbers will increase. I was looking at the countries with the highest Muslim populations. They are Indonesia, India, Pakistan, and I think Nigeria is number 5. All these countries also happen to have some of the highest population rates. In Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, and it also has a very significant number of Muslims. So how does that lead to them becoming popular? When they have these children, they raise them as Muslims. As I said in the other debate we had of how Christianity became popular, most people don't convert into a religion. Most people are born into a religion. So if you go to Indonesia with its over a 250,000 Muslims, you will find that they are having all these many kids, and they're raising those children as Muslims. So automatically, it will mean that they'll keep expanding, they'll keep becoming, quote unquote, popular. So that childhood indoctrination really plays a role. It ties in with the high birth rates. And then now on the issue of marriage, yes, you guys talked about polygamy, but the other aspect I wanted to bring out is on how Muslims are forbidden from marrying non-Muslims. It is haram to marry a non-Muslim. So what usually happens, in fact, there have been all these cases of Western women converting to Islam. It's not because of the truth of the faith, farthest from it actually. It is because they fell in love with a Muslim man. They saw that beard. Hey, I swear, by the way, beards do things to women. I personally have a weakness for beards. So they see that beard, they see his dark features and his confidence, and they fall in love with a Muslim man. And he tells her, I could never marry you unless you are a Muslim. So they do it because they're in love. And then now once they are in it, it's too late. It's too late. You're now stuck there. And then they raise the children with the faith of the Muslim. If you are a couple, one of you is a Christian and one of you is a Muslim, or one of you is, let's say, an atheist and the other is a Muslim, the Muslim's beliefs will dominate the relationship. and they will pass it on to the kids because that's a prerogative they have been given by their founding father, Prophet Muhammad. That's one of the strategies, the tricks that religion uses. It uses institutions in society to have its way. So yeah, that's what I had to say on those points. So let's listen to you guys. Last contribution. What do we think about blasphemy and apostasy? Ex-Muslims not being able to say anything negative about Islam. How does that affect the numbers there? And also give your closing remarks because time is up. We're running out. Great, I see Eugene's hand. Please go ahead.
I think when it comes to things like apostasy laws or blasphemy laws, it's all about, it's sort of, it's still bigotry, but they want to, put them, not just Islam as well. I think when you have an idea and you don't want it to be criticized, you don't want it to be scrutinized, you're trying all the efforts you can to, reject it's like you're not being sincere with yourself. So so instead of showing light, because all in all, in as much as you want to believe that you want to show light to the people, but you are still protecting that idea through whichever means as possible to protect people from criticizing it, it only shows there are some loopholes in your idea. So if you want an idea to be objective, I think it shouldn't really be free from criticization, from scrutiny, because time and time has showed us that it's true. It's actually through scrutiny. It's actually through it's actually through criticism that we can get positive things anywhere, whether it's an idea, whether it's through science and all that. And even when it comes to things like religious reforms, part of the reasons why we have reforms, part of the reasons why some religion actually reformed, it's because people were criticizing it. And then the stakeholders or those gatekeepers of religion sit down and then say, okay, we can change this because people don't really want it. But there starts to be a problem when you want your religion or your idea, you want to protect it from criticism in the name of, punishing those who criticize it. And that's actually wrong. When you look at the countries which have serious apostasy laws, even Kenya, we have apostasy laws, but they're not that serious. We don't actually kill you for it. It's actually treated as a misdemeanor, like probably 2 years in prison, and then you get released because maybe you offended someone, or you offended things that are considered sacred. So you hurt the feelings of religious folks. In let's say developed countries, some actually repeal. Like we have Republic of Ireland, which actually trying to repeal their own apostasy laws, but majority of the Western countries, they actually repeal it. So when you look at the countries that they punish blasphemy through death, these are mostly theocratic countries. Though I was shocked that Nigeria, which is not a theocratic country, but it has, northern Nigeria is mostly Islam and southern Nigeria is Christian. And we have states in northern Nigeria, which actually some, I think, are governed using Sharia laws, which is actually weird because we all know about the story of Muhammad Bala. Is it Balak or something of the sort? Yeah. Yes,
Mubarak Bala.
Yeah,
Mubarak Bala.
yeah, Mubarak Bala. It's sad that it's sad that you're trying to punish someone because he actually criticized your idea. He didn't criticize you as a person, but the idea you are holding. So as I said, whichever lengths you're trying to go to protect that idea from criticism, so that you want to come at this to anyone who criticizes, it actually shows that you're not objective. You're just a bigot. You don't want to hear any other people's opinion. You want yours to be there, untouchable, like some god or something. So I think it's actually wrong and it's backward. Yeah, thank you. And I actually enjoyed the discussion today. In as much as I joined in late, it was actually quite entertaining as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eugene. And it's always a delight to hear from you. Sometimes we may not agree on a few points, but you always make sense. Thank you. Next is Muriuki and then Ezekiel. Muriuki?
Yeah, I want to say I believe in free speech, the freedom of speech, but just mind your language. It's attempt, it's how you say it. Yeah, you can say something about something, you can criticize, but again, how are you saying it? Mind your language, and be careful with your words, especially when it comes to religion. Be very careful how you talk about someone's religion, because just the words you use, even the tone of voice can make a big difference. Then I want to ask just one last question to the ladies. I hear women saying they dress for men. I've heard that we dress for men, as I'm concerned. Then again, this thing called exhibitionism. Exhibitionism is a crime, and that's something to note. Exhibitionism, it's a crime in countries. So thanks.
Okay, I think the ladies will answer that question on dressing for men and what that implies on
And exhibitionism,
this.
also exhibitionism.
Oh, what question about exhibitionism?
It's a crime. It's considered a crime. You can be arrested for that.
No, I'm responding to the question. I'm emphasizing the question that you have asked. I'm not emphasizing all your points. So I just wanted to remind members the question you have asked, which is to the women, do they dress for men? Next is Ezekiel. Karibu.
Good good morning and hello everyone. I think I joined late, so many just to say that it's been a while since our review report. I think it's a year and uh, uh, I'm glad that the faces are and
I can't hear him. I can't hear him. I don't know if it's me. I can't hear him. I don't know if it's me.
Yes, yes, Ezekiel. There might be a challenge with your internet or your device. Could you try again? Let's try again. Yeah, let's try again. Try speaking. We hear whether you are a bit clearer.
can you now?
You are still breaking off. Are you using Wi-Fi or bundles?
I'm using data bundle.
If you are using Wi-Fi, I would have asked you to switch to bundles. But if it's bundles, then there's nothing to switch to. Ebu, try again. Let's see.
Well, sorry, that's not inconvenient, but I wanted to say I'm honored to be here again today. If I'm clearer, it's been a while since our
Yes, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been a while since I ever went here. I think it's now a year plus. Last I think was with you was last year, about April. Since then, I've never been with you till today. So mine is to say I'm honored to be here.
Ezekiel,
And yes,
are you Zyke Bright?
yes, I'm Zach Bright.
Ay. Where, ulienda wapi? Where did you go hiding?
That was his name. The last time we met,
Yes.
then it happened that we faced a massive layoff, and also I lost some people. I lost two relatives, so it affected me. And after which, you understand the setup. So I had a long battle with the faithfuls and the believers and everything else because things has to go their way, and a lot happened. But have been with you in the chats, in the WhatsApp development and everything else. But most importantly, is that have been able to be here today, and hopefully going forward, I want to go missing again. You'll be seeing me.
Amazing. Yes, it is such a delight. I will never forget the contribution you've made. That day we were talking about male contraceptives, and Zach Bright, he described how to pleasure a woman. I was like, hey, whoever is with you is so lucky. Ezekiel, thank you. Thank you for taking time. And yes, we look forward to hearing from you again and again.
Asante kabisa.
Right. Okay. Next is Ochola.
Okay. So hello. So talking about blasphemy and apostasy, I believe these are just ways of protecting the beliefs and just protecting the doctrines of Islam and other religions. Though of course that one it contradicts reason. It contradicts reason, and anything which, if somebody can really identify something that is fallacious in my beliefs or in the way I do things, at least if I'm a reasonable person, if I'm not maybe if I'm not deranged, if I'm really mindful of what I'm doing, then I will change. And talking of maybe in answering Muriuki, that we mind our language. At times, there's no way. Is it the net who said that there's no way of telling somebody that he has dedicated his life, the whole of his life, to a delusion? So maybe saying that will be termed as blasphemy, and you may be jailed for over 2 years. Well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed the discussion, and I hope I will continue contributing and also learning from the group. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ochola. Indeed, how do you tell someone that they are believing in a delusion in a nice way, walking on eggshells there. So yeah, we look forward to having you more and more. This was my first time, Ochola, in the meeting, and it was very heated. I liked it. I like it when we have divergent opinions, and it always makes up for an interesting dialogue. So karibu sana, Ochola. Next is Ndeve, and then El Maestro. Ndeve, as a lady, please answer Morioki's question on whether women dress for men and what that implies when it comes to such laws, decency laws, modesty laws, like in Islam.
Muriuki, that is another sweeping statement. And I am not saying that women don't dress for men, because if a guy buys me a dress, I am going to dress for him. So even myself, and I have done this, I've bought guys, one guy, I bought a guy a shirt and he really liked it. So why he dressed for me? And there is absolutely, like, I cook for somebody. I don't know why you went only for the dress. We don't just only do dress for each other. We do a lot. Why did you just pick the dress? But anyway, let me go to blasphemy, because I think I have dressed Muriuki down with the dress. And yes, women, we dress to feel good. We dress to look good. We dress because somebody bought us, good things, and we wear them. We even dress if somebody thinks I look good wearing a certain thing, I'm going to wear it. Why should I deny it from him? So there you go. Okay, blasphemy. Whether we are communities, organizations, or people, we use what works. And if blasphemy has been found to be a good controlling mechanism, people are going to use it again and even keep on and perfect it, so that you dare not criticize, or you dare not touch is it the beloved of God or the anointed of the Lord? They are going to use it, and they're going to use it even they will create verses and the things from their holy book just to make sure the sheep stay on the line. Because if they don't stay on the narrow line, you know what is going to happen? The whole thing is going to be broken apart. That is to keep everybody online. Now, I remember one place that I worked here in Canada, it was a laboratory, and during Ramadan, you could see that it was almost as if the other people should not have food because it is interfering with the people who are fasting. And I found that ridiculous because as a Christian, and those people who have been born again as Christians, we fasted. But you are not supposed to even be seen as if you've got a long face. If you are going to wear a long face, stop fasting. And that is one of the differences I find. I find it ridiculous. If you are finding it hard to fast, you shouldn't do it. But I found that it is a little bit of a problem with the Muslims, and I think when they are a critical number, we are all going to fast. So people get ready for this. I do Zoom classes, French classes with a group, and it has been suggested politely that during Ramadan we not have our drinks of water or drinks of tea on camera. Guys, people use what works, and if this one works, it is going to be used, whether for better or for worse. I think it's going to be for worse, and these are not going to be the worst things that are going to happen if whatever is being perpetuated works. So thank you very much. It was really a very good conversation. Muriuki, I think we put this one to rest. Thank you very much.
Very well said. Islam is claiming a special place in society, and it is imposing its values on people who don't adhere to its beliefs. It's such a shame that a place like Canada is succumbing to those tactics. What a shame. But thank you so much, Ndeve, for your contribution in today's discussion. Next is El Maestro and then Juliana.
Yes, I've also loved the discussion. First, let me start with I think this thing of apostasy in Islam, where not really apostasy, maybe just generally. I think the major problems I have with Islam is this thing of using those such tactics to force people to remain Islam, or to force, even if you are an outsider, even if you are if you are a man, you want to marry a woman in Islam, it is you, the man, who has to convert. If you are a woman and you want to get married to a Muslim man, again, the woman has to convert. There is no way an Islam can convert into Christianity, and even if it is their own will to convert, but their family members, they can even they might disown you. Even some of them in this Islamic State, they might just take away your life. That's one of the major problems I have with Islam. It's like they put this religion ahead even of the life of someone who is their family member. That's one of the major problems I have with Islam. Anything else is that, yes, I've told you, for me, I have a lot of friends, not even some, I have a lot of friends who are Muslim, because I've lived in Mombasa for quite a long time, like 18 years. But to make matters worse, I have like 5-6 friends whom I schooled with in primary school and in secondary school, who have converted, who they were Christians and they converted to Muslim. So in Mombasa, there are quite a lot of Christians who are converting, and I don't know the reason why, because one of them who converted, he was already having a Christian a girlfriend, not yet married. He had a girlfriend who was a Christian, and then he converted into Islam, and he gave the girl, if you the choice, if you want to also convert to Islam, or you break up. Don't know what happened next. We've not talked for like 5 years. So maybe I can say the reason why they convert is the Muslim laws, and also the Muslim women, they are hot, they are they are hot, and also maybe the what do they say, these delusions of 72 virgins in heaven. I don't know, you are promised 72 virgins in heaven. These 72 virgins in heaven, it also plays part. I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's also plays part. When you just hear that when you die, you'll get 72 virgins in heaven. I, as a man, you will say, let me just go and try. I don't know. It is the same thing. Even if I convert it to Islam, I'll still get a wife for free. I can. Yeah, so that's my closing remarks. Okay, I love the discussion.
72 virgin. That one always gets them, especially the incels, the ones who can't get women using their persuasive skills. It seems very appealing. Islam seems very appealing. Thank you, El Maestro. Hiya. So next is Juliana.
Okay, thank you, Dorcas. First of all, very, very interesting discussion. And I'm happy I was able to attend and participate. So I'm going to answer Muriaki's question first, whether women dress for men. And again, it's generalization, but I'm going to talk from my point of view. And I'm going to confess that I was very shallow, maybe still shallow in some cases. But I know growing up when I was, not teenager, but 18, 19, undergrad, university, those early 20s, 30s, yes, I dressed to look appealing. So because I was on the hunt then, I thought I was on the hunt for my mate. So I dressed to appeal to the opposite sex. As I came into my 30s, 40s, I saw that I was dressing more for other women because other women can be quite judgmental in what you wear. And now that I'm at the age that I am right now, I can say 80% I dress for what makes me comfortable and 20% for what someone will say. So for me, it's changed. Now I don't dress for men anymore. It's like, is this thing I'm wearing comfortable for me? And actually, I used to tell people, if you don't want to be seen with me, it's okay to walk behind me, or I'll walk behind you. We don't have to walk in together if you don't like to see me dressed this way, because I'm dressing for my comfort, not for anyone's pleasure. But if it so happens that my comfort is attractive, then so be it. But first, my comfort. So that's from my point of view. Then as to why people don't criticize Islam. Now, this is what I've just been thinking and might be wrong. So I think that this is what I think. One of the reasons why we don't want to go there with criticizing Islam and some of the things that they do is, first of all, they hold so much power in the world. They're the world's biggest producer of oil. So if you piss them off, first of all, you don't get the oil. So I think that sort of prevents this is what I think, many other teams or groups of people from trying to sort of address some of the things that they do. So technically, we are being bullied by the Islam world because they have the control over the resources. So one of the things I'm sort of looking at now differently is the fact that, especially here in Canada, we are fighting this. Well, we have parties fighting this, is the fact at looking at alternative sources of energy. So I'm thinking, if we can get to a point where we are sufficient and not relying on oil and gas that comes out of the Middle East, perhaps with the Middle East, the Islamic world will lose some of its power on what they can tell the rest of the world to do. And the other thing, of course, is we're scared of the extremists. So nobody wants to criticize too much because these people are weird. They might get up one morning and just come around with guns. But unfortunately, guys, it's a very few minority that's spoiling for the rest of the Muslims who are just okay, who don't really follow everything, because I have worked with them, I have dated a few of them, and they don't follow the Quran the way it should, because they also know that some elements of it don't make sense. So again, maybe it's a conspiracy theory on my part, but the sooner we can get off oil and gas as our basic form of energy, the sooner we can get off being bullied by the Islamic world because unfortunately, they control the oil and gas, which the world needs. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you next week.
Thank you as well, Juliana, for that contribution. And no, it is not a conspiracy theory because I think it is based on evidence in that anybody who has economic control, they tend to have a say in what you do. He who feeds you controls you. He who gives you a resource that you need will have the ability to control how you respond to them. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Now, I also get to chip in. I get to have the final word on those two questions of apostasy and blasphemy. And also I will answer Morioki's question. Maybe let me start with Morioki's question. Do women dress for men? Don't ask such general questions. You can't make assumption about a half of the human population. You can't. You can't say, oh, women do this for this reason. You haven't collected data from all women, so refrain from generalizing. But I will speak personally. I've not gotten to a place in my self-esteem where I dress for myself. I dress for other people. I love the reactions I get from both men and women. By the way, I don't dress. In fact, I dress more for women than men because women, we look at things objectively. You know, for men, yeah, maybe they don't care about the details. It's just that, oh, she's curvaceous and she looks nice. But for women, they look at details. They're like, wow, that belt, it matches her earring, you know. And women will actually walk up to you and compliment you. Hey, madam, you look so smart. Yeah. So I found that when I am well dressed, and by well dressed, I just mean I've dressed for my body. I've brought out the most flattering features that I have. Sometimes it could be short. Me, I love short dresses, by the way. Oh, like that. Thank you. There you go. So sometimes it could be a short dress, sometimes it could be something long, sometimes it could be chiffon, you know, a very free flowing and all. Whatever it is, it just complements my features. What I've found is it gives me confidence, and I exude that confidence when I'm interacting with people, and it affects how they respond to me because they look up to me. I don't know. It's kind of like they feel as though I deserve more respect or not respect, but I don't know, priority. You know, I'm given more priority when I'm well dressed, when I look nice. Yeah. So that is my personal perspective. Me, I dress for both people. When I've dressed in a way that brings out my features nicely, I get good treatment from people. Now, the point I wish you do not lose in this discussion, Morioki, is just because I've dressed to impress. Whether I'm dressing as a woman, I'm dressing to impress men, or I'm dressing to impress women, that is not an invite to violate me sexually. It is not. I just want to be admired. That's all. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want you to rape me. I don't want you to do anything to me sexually. I just want to be admired. That's it. It's not an invite to cross those boundaries. You must never forget that. If you do, then you are nothing more than a misogynist. Enough said on that aspect. Now, let me talk about blasphemy and apostasy. I think this idea of blasphemy is a commentary on how ineffective an idea Islam is. If you are confident about your idea then you welcome scrutiny. You allow people to attack you and you rebut because you know that your idea can withstand it. But if you realize that your idea is shaky, you will do all that is possible to silence dissenting voices. And this is what Muslims do when they create blasphemy laws. In fact, there are numerous countries around the world that have blasphemy laws. Almost all of them are Islamic countries. We have Sudan, which has Sharia law. We have Somalia here in our continent. We have what Eugene said, Nigeria, the northern part. They rely on Sharia law, so they have blasphemy laws. That's why Mubarak Balak was imprisoned for 24 years. And then there was a lady called Deborah Samuels who was killed. She was burned to death for saying something about Prophet Muhammad. Just saying something. She didn't insult him. She didn't maybe draw a cartoon. She just commented negatively about Prophet Muhammad, and she was killed by a mob. How is that okay? That is barbaric. In fact, I am actually insulting barbarism because it's beyond barbaric. And this is a religion that sanctions it in its holy texts. So those who have Sharia law will follow that. It is a danger to the rest of us who are standing for truth, who want to believe as many true things as possible and as few false things as possible. For those of us who stand for critical thinking, we will criticize anything that has an issue. So with Islam, it is a threat to you as a skeptic. If you lived in those countries, you would be in danger. In fact, there are so many heroes around the world, so many ex-Muslims that are speaking up against it in spite of the danger to their lives. Yeah, that's the symptom of an authoritarian. You know that you don't deserve your position, so you will try and clamp down on any opposition. So the fact that they clamp down on blasphemy, on ex-Muslims, the apostates, you're not supposed to say that you're an apostate. If you become an apostate, they will kill you. It's actually a danger to your life if you become an apostate in a majority Muslim country. So the fact that they do that, to me, is a sign that they know how shaky their idea is. So they're trying to manipulate people into silence. And you see now with the people in the majority countries who don't hear that criticism, they don't get to watch a YouTube video talking about the way Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl and then consummated the marriage, had sex with her at 9 years of age. They don't get to hear that criticism because of those blasphemy and apostasy laws. So they'll stay in the religion and they will continue giving birth to more Muslims. That's how they safeguard this very bad idea. It is a shame that it exists in the modern day. It has been surpassed with time. Islam, to me, is an archaic dogma that has no relevance. Today, I think it needs to be challenged. And either it should be reformed completely, they should be made liberal, or it should be eradicated completely. So that is my take. Now, overall, on this entire topic, guys, as I finish, I believe that Islam has become popular not because of the truth of its claims. No. It is because of all of those manipulation tactics. It started with political and military conquest. It went on to establish to establish blasphemy laws and apostasy. Then it went on to forbid Muslims from marrying non-Muslims, so that if you're a non-Muslim and you fall in love with a Muslim, you convert. And then it went on to encourage them to have as many children as possible. And then once they have those children, you raise them as Muslims. It's a small wonder that it is such a highly populous religion that it is going to be the most dominant one in 2050. They've used all of those manipulation tactics. It is not the truthfulness of their claim. It is all of these negative things that they have done in order to maintain relevance. Yes, so that's what I had to say on the topic of the day. Thank you so much, guys, for your contribution. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, El Maestro. Thank you, Debe. Thank you, for Morioki, for your question. Thank you, your many questions. Thank you, Ochola. Thank you, Ezekiel, who has left. Adams was here a bit. He has left. Thank you, Debe, Juliana, and everybody else that contributed. It was such a delight. Let's meet again next week for yet another discussion. I have not confirmed the topic. I have to ask the moderator, but we'll meet again next Friday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good weekend.